So the first rule is you can either use it in single quotes or double quotes. Both of them are correct. There's no difference between both of them. Second thing is whatever you enclose within the double quotes, that becomes a string. This is not a number. This is a string. Even if you give the true or false value within a string, that also becomes a string. It's not a Boolean anymore. Like for example, if I do a type of true, this gives me like a string because I've enclosed this thing inside the double quotes. Hence, that becomes a string. Okay. And you can add any type of value you want inside the double quotes or single quotes. Let's say I want to add all the numbers and some special symbols. All of this is possible. Okay. Basically, inside your double quotes or single quotes, you can add any kind of values you want. But the thing is, you always have to see once you open up double quote like this, and if you enter some value, and then you do not close it with a double quote, then it gives you an error. Okay, because you always have to close the string with a double quote. If you do not close a string with a single quote or a double quote, then it throws an error. Okay, let's look at the slide. If you look at the slide, you have simple examples. Let's create some variables now. Let's take in const name is equal to John Cena, and const profession would be WWE wrestler. So observe that I can even give a space between my words if I want this, and that is also possible. Next, I can say const age is equal to 10, and then I'll say const city is equal to New York. Okay, all of these are varied. Now, the other examples which are given is one more thing. See, I've used all single quotes here, but I can use double quotes as well. Country is equal to USA. Okay, that is also possible. Now, whenever I try to access the value, I get back this. When I try to access the city, I get back the values here. So the important takeaway here is you can use both double quotes as well as single quotes. And let's say, yeah. So, but remember one thing, that you have to use either double quotes or single quotes. You can't use both for a string. Like for example, if you try to do something like this, const school is equal to DA. See, you're beginning with a single quote, but if you end it with a double quote, this will not work. This is throw an error again. Okay. And same thing if you try doing double quote in the beginning and single quote in the end, that also will not work. Okay. It has to be either a single quote at both the ends, or it has to be double quote at both the ends. Like this. Okay. These both will not work. That is what they're saying here. Okay, before going here. Now, next thing is, what if inside your quotes you want to use some other quotes? Like for example, I'm saying he said, ha ha ha. Okay. See, now what's happening here? See, this entire thing is actually a string. Okay. This entire thing is a string, but inside this, I want to emphasize on this word. So I've given this double quotes. This is a single quote, and everything inside the single quote is actually a string. And inside you're using double quotes here. This will work correctly. But if you try to do something like this, if you try to give it all single quotes, that will not work. Because what will happen is JavaScript will think that, okay, so yahan se leke ek string hai. Like, what the hell is this? Okay. So if you want to use different quotes inside a string, you have to do it like this. Now, what if you want to use a single quote inside the string? You can use a double quote, like, hey, I am Aditya. Like this. See, I'm using a single quote here, which means I have to use double quotes outside. Okay, that's how it will work. One more example. He said LOL. This will work. And one last example. She said OMG. This will also work. But just remember that if you're using the single quotes inside the string itself must use double quotes. But if you're using double quotes inside the string itself must use single quotes. Okay. So any questions here, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Great. Okay. Now next, I want to talk about this concept called concatenation. Okay, what is concatenation? So concatenation is nothing but joining two things. Okay, joining two or more things is nothing but concatenation. Joining two or more things. Okay, this is nothing but concatenation. Like let's say I have a string called Aditya, and I have one more string called DAV. So if I want to join these both strings, then when I join these both into a single string, okay, I'm concatenating these both strings using a single string. Then I get back like this. So this is concatenation. So all I'm doing is I'm taking two strings, and if I use a plus operator here, see, when you use a plus between two numbers, that will act as a calculation. Like for example, if I do 198 plus 20, this will act as a sum, as an addition operator. But if I'm doing the same thing with using two strings, it acts as a concatenation operator. The same plus will act as a concatenation. Now, this might or might not work in other programming languages, but in JavaScript, it works. Now here, let's say I have Aditya, and then I will do a plus, and then I will do DAV. Now, when I hit enter, see, whatever was inside this string and whatever was inside this string, that will be concatenated into one string like this. Okay, this is just one ultimate string. Now, one more thing that I forgot to mention is, see, when you give an empty string like this is also possible. This just means that this is an empty string. A string can there are no characters at all. Okay, this is called an empty string. Empty string. What is an empty string? If you just do this, or even if you do with two single quotes also, this is also called an empty string. Okay, remember, it's very, very important. Now, but inside the double quotes, if I give one space, this is not empty anymore because there is one character here, which is the space character. Okay? Let me zoom in further. See, there is a space character here. This one thing is one space. See, this is an empty string. Okay? ये empty string है. लेकिन यहाँ पर when I give one space, this is not an empty string anymore because there is a space character, which means space B, even though you don't see a space inside double quotes, that is also a character. And I can add more space also if I can add multiple spaces like this. एक minute यार. Okay, this is also a string which is not an empty string. Even though you do not see anything there, there is something there, and that something is nothing but a space character. So space bar जब आप use करोगे, that is also a character inside a string. ठीक है? And that was about the empty string. Now let's try to do concatenation. Okay, let's say कि now Aditya plus, and I'll give some space here, is teaching. Now I have this space. Why do I have this space? Because यहाँ पर एक space आ गया नाम को. So Aditya के बाद this space is there because of this, and then is teaching जुड़ गया है. Okay, this is how we create a concatenation. One more example. Let's say const first name is equal to Ziggy. And if you do first name, you'll get the Ziggy. And let's give it a last name also. Is Canary Face. Now, when I do first name plus last name, I get this one. Now, if I want to add some space between this both, what do I do? I'll just give some space here, like this. Okay. Now, so there are some weird things, okay, when it comes to JavaScript. Like I told you guys, so JavaScript was actually created in just like 10 days, okay, because of which there were a lot of weird issues which are still there in JavaScript, but you will not come across them very often. Like, you don't have to worry much about them, but I'll just tell you a few things, okay? Now, there is, see, if you try to add a plus, see, this is a string, right? If you try to add a number like this, what it does is instead of throwing an error, it converts this 10 also into a string, and then it concatenates it with hi. Okay, which means whenever you use this plus symbol with one side having a string, the other side will automatically be converted to a string. Like let's say if I do 100 plus hello, see, this 100 is converted to a string because the other side is also a string. This means what happens here, if you have a string plus number, that will be converted to a string number like this, which means this number will actually be converted to a string here, converted to a string. And that's what happens. And ultimately, these both will be concatenated into this one. Like for example, if I have like 19 plus boy, okay, when I do equal to, what's happening here? So the first step, what happens is 19 will be converted to a string, which means 19 will become like this. And after this, 19 plus boy. This will happen. Ultimately, the result will be what? 19 boy. Let's take an example here. So we'll say 19 plus boy, 19 boy, and maybe girl plus 56, girl 56. That's it. Okay, that's how it works. But this only happens with respect to the addition or plus operator. If you try to do the same thing with minus, then it will actually throw an error. It will be not a number. Even if you do hi minus h, this also will not work. So whenever you try to do a subtraction operator on anything that is not number, yahan par basically the subtraction operator always requires both the sides to be number. Agar ek bhi side number nahi hua hai, then it will give you back not a number. And same thing applies to division also. Not a number. So whatever the concatenation या फिर ये जो आपने देखा है, this works only in case of the plus operator. Okay, the plus operator can behave as a concatenation if one of them is a number and if one of them is a string. Okay, guys, any questions so far?
No.
Thanks, Mr. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is this concept called strings are indexed. Okay. What does indexed mean? See, this is actually a string. Okay. This chicken is actually a string. This is a string here. But like I told you before, a string is nothing but a sequence of characters. Okay. And in JavaScript programming language, every character will have a corresponding index or a number associated with it. Okay. Like in this case, the number is it starts with 0 always, okay? It always starts with 0 and it always increments by 1. So the beginning of the string is C. It begins with 0 and then 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, that is nothing but the indexing of a string. Now, if we take a look at, let's say, I'll give one more example. Let's say skill and edge. Okay, this is also a string now. Now let me increase it. Okay. Now, if we have to index this, okay, what will happen? This will be 0, 0th index, and this will be what? 1, and so on. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. बीच में जो है, that is also a character. That is a space character. That also has an index, which means if it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, this will actually be 5. It is a space character, right? Now, this will be 6, 7, 8, and 9, which means the index will start from 0 and it goes all the way to 9. And the total length of this string is actually 10. Okay, that's how a string indexing means. So you have a string where every character has an index associated with it, index or a positional number. Okay, it always starts with 0, guys. It never starts with 1. In programming languages, especially in Python and JavaScript, all the strings, I mean, you take any string, it always starts from 0. 0 से शुरू होके 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 ऐसा होता है. Okay, that is called indexing of string. Now let's take a look at some examples now. Okay, so first I want to talk about, let's say I have a string called hello, and if I want to find out the length of this string, okay, length is how much now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 characters, which means the length of the string is 5. And the way you find out the length of any string is by using dot length. Now, what is this dot? Why do we need this dot? Just think of this dot as it gives you access to a lot of additional functionality on string. If you need to find out the length of the string, just do dot length. One more example, let's do skill edge is nice. Dot length, it is 18 characters because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you have to always include the space as well. Don't forget the space. Okay, that is the total length. Let's say so I'll just add some spaces here. I'll remove this. So I have some space. I'll just do length. See, it has a length of 10, which means even if a string has many spaces, that is also considered a string. Okay, that is how we find out the length. Now let's say I have my song sacrifice. Okay, this is a strong song that I like. Now, if I need to find the length of this, what do I just do my song dot length. And this will give me the length of this thing. Now, if I want to get the first letter of this, like I told you, the strings are indexed, right? But how do you access the character at that index? Like I know that the character at the index of 1 is H. The character at the index of 4 is K. The character at the index of 5 is E. And the character at the index of 6 is N. But how do I get that in programming language? The way we do that is you just do my song and you open the square brackets. Inside the square brackets, you mention whatever the index you want. Like let's say I want to get the first index, which is 0th index. Okay, that gives me like the S here. Now remember This word called sacrifice. This is a word which starts with 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which means the indexing will start from 0 and goes all the way to 8. 1 second. This is how the indexing will work. Now, if I want to get the character at the index of 0, I did this. If I want to get the character at the index of 1, like at 2 will be this, at 1 will be this, at 3 will be this, again 4, 5, 6, and so on. Okay, like this. So if you want to get the index, if you want to get the character at any index, just use a square bracket notation. You give the string and square bracket notation. You can do without variable also. Let's say I have this, I'm running out of words. Okay, let's say Shark Tank. Okay, now when I do a square bracket here and give 0, it'll give me back the first character here. And if I do, let's say, a 5, it gives me like a space because this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 is the space. If I want the n, like if I want this n, 5, 6, 7, 8, so I have to do 8 here. I get n here. Yeah, that's how it works. But let's say, okay, if you're trying to access, if you try to give an index here, which is not even included in this, and for example, see this, the overall length of this is what? What is the length of this? Let's see, the length is 10, okay? Which means I can actually access from 0 to 9. See, iska length is 10. Iska length is 9, but I can access the indexes from 0 to 8. Iska the length is 10. I can access anything from 0 to 9. Okay, but what if I try to access something which is greater than 9? What if I do like 10? It won't throw any error, but it gives you back, it returns to you a primitive value called undefined. If you remember, one of the primitive values that we spoke about in the very beginning is this thing called undefined. Okay, we'll get to this later, but just remember that whenever you try to access an index which is not there in the string, it gives you back undefined. Where are we? Okay, it gives you back undefined here. Even if you do, like, let's say Shark Tank of one, whatever big number you give, it is not even there in the string, returns to undefined. Okay. Now, how do you get the last character? How do you get the last character inside a string? Okay, I'll let you guys tell me. Okay, let's say I have this gibberish here, like this. I want to get the last character from this gibberish. Instead of manually counting key, okay, this is 1, 2, and all that, or 0, 1, and I don't want to count. But bina count kiye, I want to get the last character. How can I get it, guys? -1. Okay, let's see if -1 will work. Gibberish of -1 will not work because -1 is something that will work in Python but not in JavaScript. I know you guys are learning Python now, but unfortunately, this doesn't work in JavaScript. But think of something else. See, I'm not asking you something which I've not taught you. Think you have to just think little creatively. Thoda logic lagao thoda. I'll give you a clue, okay? See, iska yahan par total number of characters टोटल नंबर ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स व्हाट इज 9, ठीक है, टोटल 9 है, इसका लेंथ इसका 9 है, लेकिन इसका लास्ट इंडेक्स है 8. Rohit, you're right, but what is the exact syntax I have to use? What is the exact syntax I have to use, guys? See, length minus 1 is correct. But how do you get the length of it, and where do you put the length of it and all of that? Just think about that a little bit. Remember, if I do like gibberish of 10, I get this. Okay, I'll tell the answer. Okay, so inside this, I can actually use an expression, which is gibberish.length minus 1. Make sense, guys? Inside the bracket, you're just doing gibberish.length minus 1. That's it. Because this will give you back whatever the length of that is, and that minus 1 will be the last index. Right? Any questions here? Okay. Now, one more thing is, let's define a string. Okay. Now I can change. So the way I access any character based on the index will be like this, right? If I do a string of 0, I get back A, and if I do a string of maybe 2, I'll get back 3, I get back T. But I can also change the letter at that change the character at that index. Like let's say instead of I here, I want to replace this I with a Z. Okay. So 0, 1, 2. So string of 2 will be now be Z. Now when I do a string here, one second. It's still not working in the Chrome console for some reason. But let me check in some places. Or maybe I'm getting confused with this. Let me check here. Looks like we can't change it. I am string MDN. Yeah, I think I got confused here. Yeah, just ignore, guys. You can't. You basically can't change a specific letter at a string. That's not possible. So let's just ignore that. Let's move ahead. And the next topic is this thing called string methods. Now the strings basically they come with a lot of predefined methods that you can use. Like they are basically actions that you can perform on a string. Like imagine you've created a string and you want to perform some action on that string, you can do that. Like for example, if you want to search within a string, or if you want to replace, or like let's say a small part of a string with something else, or if you want to convert the lowercase to uppercase or uppercase to lowercase, all of these things are possible because of the string methods. Okay, we're going to talk about the string methods now. And there are actually many methods. But yeah, the most common syntax for using any method is, and it's not just for strings, basically any method, okay? Any method in JavaScript, if you have to use a method, you have to just append that with a dot and then the method name. This thing can be anything, okay? This thing, right now, this thing only is a string in your case, but in the future, we'll be learning about more data structures like arrays and functions and objects. That time, this thing can represent those things also. But for now, just remember that this thing is nothing but a string. So string dot method name. This is the basics syntax of it. Okay, now let's take a simple example first. So let's say I have a message here. You are so grounded, Mr. Okay, this is a string that I have. Now, if I want to convert this into an uppercase, msg dot, there is a method called toUppercase. Okay, remember your methods must always end with the parentheses. Okay, this is called parentheses. So in programming language, the brackets, what we call brackets in India, this is called parentheses. Parenthesis. Or is it this? Spelling this is okay. This is called parentheses. Now, yeah, so this is the method name, and you're just calling it. When you do this, which means you're invoking, you're calling the function. See, if you do not do this now, if you just hit enter, nothing will happen. Okay. So for you to call the action, for the action to run, you have to give the parentheses here. And when you hit enter, see the entire string got uppercased. Okay. But again, when I try to check what message is not changed only. Why has message not changed? Because see, मैंने यहाँ पर call किया है, लेकिन this does not change the message itself. If we want to change the original message, then we have to do this. Message is equal to. Wait, actually, I have to do this. Let message is equal to. And this should be let. Okay. Okay. I think I have to, yeah. So I have this, and I'll do message.toUppercase will not work. I mean, this will work, but it does. See, this thing, what we're telling here is we're just like running an operation or an action on the string, but we're not saving the result of this back inside MSG. Okay? If we want to actually change the MSG variable itself, iska jo bhi result aaya hai, we have to store it back inside the MSG variable again, which means we have to do MSG is equal to this. Now, when you try to search for MSG, you get the uppercase. Now, similarly, you have lowercase also, which basically see MSG dot to lowercase converts it into lowercase. But again, if I try to look at what MSG is, it's still uppercase because, like I said, we have not. यहाँ पर we have only called it, लेकिन इसका result हमने कहीं पर store नहीं किया है. If we want to convert the MSG back to lowercase, we need to first call this, and उसका जो भी result आएगा, we have to store it back inside the MSG variable. Like this. Okay, now if I do MSG, it's lowercase again. Okay. Okay, so any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Okay. Next string method that we are talking about is this method called trim. Okay, the example for that is, let's say I have a string here which actually has a lot of spaces in the beginning and in the end also. Okay, like यहाँ पर जो space है, यहाँ पर जो space है, मुझे वो निकालना है, and I want to trim that. If you want to trim the space that is there inside a string, you can use the trim method. Okay, let's take an example. Let's say that I have a color called purple, which has the space on both the sides, like this. So if I do a dot trim here, see, it has removed the spaces for me. Let's add this to a variable now. Let's say purple color space 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 per be space. Now if I do color is equal to color dot trim. Oh wait, I have declared with cons now. See, so let me declare it with let purple, and if I do color is equal to color dot trim, then I get, so it returns the string to me, removing the leading and the trailing space. So I've used two words here, leading and trailing. Leading का मतलब है whatever space is there at the beginning of the string. Okay, this is called the leading. Whatever space is there at the end of the string, that's called trailing. Okay, this is leading space and trailing space. Okay, now trim is used to remove both. Now let's say if you have one more string which has only leading space, like let's say I have leading space. Observe कि यहाँ पर space नहीं है मुझे, and trim can remove this leading space also. So I have to just do fruit is equal to fruit dot trim, and returns to me mango. ठीक है? And let's say if I have a vegetable and this does not have a leading space, it has a trailing space, like this. I can do vegetable dot trim. Okay, but remember that if you have a space in between your words, trim will not remove that. Like for example, let's say ki Aditya is here, space 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 or trim. Now remember ki here ke baad jo bhi space, that is a trailing space. So like I said, the trim can only remove either leading space or trailing space, but not the space in between. बीच में जो भी space है वो नहीं निकालेगा. Just remember that. Okay, so yeah, that is done. Lowercase हो गया है, trim हो गया है. Now the next thing is, there are some methods which accept this thing called arguments. Okay, now in between the brackets you can provide them some arguments. Now based on the argument, their behavior will change. Okay, वही मेथड में जब आप कुछ दूसरा आर्ग्यूमेंट देंगे तो उसका रिजल्ट कुछ और होगा. Okay, which means based on these arguments which you pass inside a method, the result will change. Remember that, see, whenever you're passing anything inside a method, that is called argument. Okay, this is a method, right? इस method के अंदर, brackets के अंदर, if you're passing anything inside the method, that is called argument. Let's take a look at an example. So let's say I have this thing called baseball. Okay. Now I want to find out what is the index of the letter called E. I'll write this down here. See, B A S E P A L L. This is the word, right? I want to find out what is the index of this letter called E. Now, if we know that the index of letter E would be 0, 1, 2, 3. So, अभी 3 का index है 3, right? और E का index है 3. Okay? लेकिन I want to find out what the index of the letter is without counting. Okay? For that, we have a method called index of. But I need to provide it an index, right? मुझे कुछ index देना है मुझे यहाँ पर. And I have to give the value of E. मुझे E का index चाहिए. तो एक string के अंदर I know I have a E, right? So this E I'm passing here. I'm saying the index of this letter E is 3. Because 0, 1, 2, 3. Now same thing if you want to get the index of S, I get 2 because this is 0, 1, and 2. Now what if I do index of B? Now observe that there are two B's. एक B यहाँ पर है, एक B यहाँ पर है. But what index of will do is it will give you back the first matching result. Okay? अगर एक बार उसको एक मैच मिल गया है, then it does not go any further. अब यहाँ पर क्या हुआ कि B जो है वो फर्स्ट लेटर है यहाँ पर, तो इंडेक्स 0 पे मिल गया. That's it doesn't go any further. Okay? इसके बाद नहीं जाएगा और आगे. Okay? That's the index of. But you do not have to give only one letter. Multiple letters भी दे सकते हो आप. Let's say I want to get the index of ball inside this. BALL. Why is it 4? Because see, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So a ball जो है, let's start it from the index of 4, right? Ball जो word है, that is started from the index of 4. And hence, the index of ball will be 4 inside baseball. Now let's try to do just all. It is 5 because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and it starts from 5 यहाँ पर. That's why the value is 5. Okay, let's try to do SE. SE यहाँ पर है. So 0, 1, 2. Because it started from 2, value will be 2 here. Now what if it does not find that word or character? Like let's say मैं यहाँ पर zebra देता हूँ, which is not even there यहाँ. Okay, whenever we try to do that, it always gives you back -1. Okay, which means ये जो character or characters हमने दिया है, this does not exist inside this string. And whenever something does not exist inside this string, it always returns a -1. ठीक है, तो -1 का मतलब है कि this string is not existing inside this. Let's do one more example, Aditya. And if I do index of B, which does not exist in my name, I get back -1 because B does not exist inside Aditya. That is index of. Okay. So guys, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'll ask you some questions then and we'll wrap it off. Okay, let me ask. What all did we discuss? ठीक है, काम करते हैं. Let's do Yatin. Well, now Yatin is the word. Okay, Yatin is a string. Now, what is the index of? Okay, first of all, guys, every string starts from what index? What is the first index number of every character?
0.
0. Okay. Now इसका length क्या है अभी इसका? What is the length of the string? It's 5.
Yes.
How do I get the length of any string? How do I get the length of a string?
By using length method.
Length, okay, yeah, dot length is correct. Okay, remember कि see, dot length में there are no parentheses. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, no parentheses. This is wrong. You have to just use dot length. This is correct. ठीक है? Okay. Now, what is the index of a character here?
1.
Okay. What is the index of n?
4.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Great. What is the index of a letter called Z here? What is the index of Z? Perfect. Yatin and Rohit are correct. It's -1 because, like I told you guys, see, agar may if I try to search something, let's say ki Yatin, may I'm trying to do index of Z. So Z इसमें है ही नहीं. Whenever JavaScript does not find the letter Z inside a string, it gives you back -1. ठीक है? -1 का मतलब वही है कि वो कैरेक्टर इसमें है ही नहीं. Okay. Now one more question. What is Yatin dot index of 10? What is the value of this, guys?
2.
Great, very good. Okay. Now index of तो आपको समझ में आ गया है ठीक ठाक से. Very good. We spoke about all of these things already. What else did we not talk? Okay. Okay, let's say I have a let name is equal to Anjal, and I'll be like name dot to uppercase. Okay. Now uske baad, what is the value of name? After these 2 lines are done, what is the value of name?
Pranjal.
I mean, is it all caps or small, or is it the same as this? What is the answer?
Same.
Why is it same?
Because we not store in
Not store in where?
any variable. Anywhere we not store in a name.
Perfect, man. Very good, Nisar. Very good, Pranjal. So we have to basically, when you do this now, like when you do name is equal to name, then this will result in like this. Okay. Okay, great. Now, last question. So let's say ki, who all are there in the call right now? Okay, we have Nisar. Let's go with Nisar. Wait, what is Nisar's full name? Nisar Nadaf. Okay, so we have Nisar Nadaf. Okay. Now, when I do this dot trim, what is the result of this?
As it is.
As it is. Okay, same. Okay. What if I give some space at the very end? Now?
Space will be removed.
Space will be removed. Okay. What if I give the space here?
As it is.
As it is, but I have some space here, no?
Yes, वो space जाएगा.
हाँ. So just remember that in दोनों के बीच में कितना भी space दो, doesn't matter. सिर्फ यही जो trailing space है वो जाएगा. ठीक है? Okay, guys, that's it. I mean, I can go on, but we only have like 5 more people, so I think we'll stop the class here. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Also, just one last thing I want to talk about is MDN में ना again. तो MDN में बहुत सारे string का methods है. Just go here and just like Yeah, so you have so many methods here. Yeah, we will not be covering many of them. We'll be covering only some very important ones of them. Like, if you guys want, you can just go and check it out. Like, for example, there, okay, we'll be learning about this slicing tomorrow. So, but if you want to learn about what this repeat thing does, repeat क्या करता है? So you have a chorus, बोल के एक string है, and then if you do repeat of 27, वो सिर्फ repeat कर रहा है बार बार बस. Now I'll give you an example, okay? So let's go to inspect. Inspect क्यों नहीं आ रहा? हाँ. So let's say कि this is Spider-Man. I would repeat. Okay. This also accepts arguments. Okay. Because I'll tell how many times you want to repeat. You want to repeat 2 times. See, we get repeated 2 times. And if you want to repeat like 10 times, like this. Okay. So just go through MDN and go through it if you want to. But we will be covering more other methods tomorrow. Okay. Guys, if you guys have nothing else, we'll stop the session here. Thanks for attending and see you guys tomorrow. Good night. Good night, guys. Bye bye.